Hi friends, this is one of those put the kettle on, do the housework, or pour a glass of wine kind of videos, because I'm so full of things I need to speak about that I can't concentrate. I got my eyebrows done. Look, it's like an instant facelift. Isn't it lovely? They're supposed to be, what is it my daughter calls them? Cousins, not sisters, and mine clearly. Anyway, so it's Sunday afternoon, it's 4:20, and we haven't done the Hampstead update. And this is why I sometimes call myself the last one standing. And that's, you know I'm not really, and there are others always praying, always working in the background. But in terms of publicly trying to get to the bottom of this case after more than 5 years, it's a very lonely journey. Andy Devine has been amazing, and I love his emphasis on the quest for solutions. I listened to his live stream this morning. Oh my goodness, the Greek islands, it makes me so homesick for Lanzarote, and wishing I'd done more live streams from there. I'm having some technical issues, by the way, with my phone. I don't know if it's a Google interference thing or if it's just something because I had my phones completely cleaned up after a suspected hacking, but I can't seem to upload straight to YouTube from my phone at the moment. It tells me to add details, amongst which you have to declare if the video is for children or not, but it doesn't let me add details. It only lets me upload, and then it uploads with no volume or picture. So apologies for, I think I've made 3 attempts to upload a couple of chats. Actually, I did it. I found this lovely park locally, and you just sit by a babbling brook, and it would just make you want to have a chat, And I've made a couple of informal videos from there, and neither of them have I been able to upload. So I'll get to the bottom of that with the wonderful Sammy locally, who hopefully will be able to tell me what's going on. Or it may be a Google interference thing. I'm kind of shocked at YouTube's actions of the past 2 weeks, and I will be taking action. I will be I'm such a pussycat. I don't like, Baron David Ward is always telling me I need to toughen up, because I don't know if it's mind control, programming or what, or if it's just part of being a female, which I definitely am. But I don't like conflict and confrontation and court proceedings. I've only ever taken one court case in my life, and I took it all the way to the High Court, and I won. And I pretty much single-handedly gathered all the evidence, and one legal team resigned and the other one tried to pressure me into taking a deal, and I just said, look, it's not about the money, I'm going all the way. I actually got cheated at the last hurdle with a barrister doing a deal, and I said to him, please do not tell the judge there's been an out-of-court settlement. I want to go before the judge. And when I got to court, he had told the judge it was in and out and gone. So my only option after that was to sue the barrister for malpractice or whatever, and I haven't got around to that because I don't have a stomach for that kind of thing. I'd rather focus on the good things, and this is what's been hard about the last week or two. But as I said in my Facebook Live, Google removed permanently the Abraham Christie video. And at first it was a privacy complaint because Andy gave out 2 phone numbers of people that were harassing us during the live stream, harassing him during the live stream. So then we edited out those phone numbers, and then they said, oh no, it's 1 or more legal complaints. But according to Baron David Ward, he who makes a claim must provide the evidence thereof. So I have it in writing from YouTube that the Abraham Christie panel meeting with Terry Joyce and Andy and myself was taken down due to one or more legal complaints. So I will be issuing legal proceedings, requiring the evidence of that. They've made that claim. I want to see the evidence thereof. And I have this amazing, finally, new technical assistant who has opened a BitChute account for me, discovered dozens of malicious videos by Karen Irving and others on there, but never mind. So he's created a BitChute account for me, and the Abraham Christie video is up there. It's Angela Power Disney, my channel. It's, I think, the Angela and Power have no space, and then there's a hyphen Disney, but you'll find it, hopefully. And I will, as a priority, upload all the, I think there have been 11 videos banned in different countries, 2 banned in Ireland, 2 banned in Canada, 7 in England, and 1 worldwide on Cambridge Analytica. That one's on Vimeo, and I think it's on my blog. But so just as I discover, well, not just as I discover, but just as I engage with BitChute, whoops, Twitter's banned BitChute. You can't upload any BitChute videos to Twitter. So this is the house of cards of big tech mafia is going to come tumbling down. They just can't dictate political outcomes and narratives, and they you know, it's just amazing. Like Owen Benjamin and Vox Day are taking action with 72 of their Patreon supporters against Patreon, and they seem to be winning so far. And then Justin Bieber won a Supreme Court case that Google don't have the right to give private data away, even if subpoenaed to do so. I heard that on Titus Frost, so I don't have all the details of that. But and different people, you know, the proceedings I've started with Baron David Ward, you can find him on Facebook, or you can join his work group, Security by Way of a Lien, L-I-E-N, on Facebook. But I am going to progress those proceedings against Google Ireland and Google worldwide, because they took that Abraham Christie video down twice, and they banned the Karen Irving one in the UK, just for saying her name, and then Heather Brown got 2. Finally, she's probably delighted. She's been trying. I've got a whole blog. Go to my blog, angelascaches.org, C-A-C-H-E-S, and no apostrophe, and you'll find a blog with all the Heather Brown interviews. You know, I think she was sent in on me, and she tried really hard to get me to do a Facebook live stream every night, and wanted me to kind of like go at 100 miles an hour. And I think basically it was to entrap me to get myself deplatformed. You know, I'd like to think I'm wrong, and I'm open to being corrected. She goes by Prue Halliwell on YouTube and Facebook. She has worked as a Mackenzie friend, and she has a lovely side to her. I do have hope for her. She's got a human side, but a root of bitterness that would take your breath away. So she's decided I'm an enemy, and she is one of those trolls that will ring social services. You know, thankfully I didn't go back to work, you know, full on until my youngest child went off to college, but she is one of those that will try and get your children taken, try and get your pension stopped, try and get you know, your PayPal deplatformed, and whatever. Just really try and have an impact on your real life. Try and groom people in your community of friends. And by the way, there is some good news, which was partly in that park video that didn't upload properly, which is that GoFundMe didn't deplatform me. I was so surprised, because they are so humane in my experience that they completely got it. When I started to be trolled viciously, they completely got it, what was happening. I said, look, I'm a survivor, I'm a campaigner, and there are people in high places that want me gone. And they just got it. So the whole GoFundMe thing was just that they've changed their terms and conditions. They used to charge 5%. So if you sent me 20 quid, I'd get like, I don't know, 17 or something and my maths are not very good, but they used to take a 5% cut, and now they don't. So now you just have an option to tip them. And so one of them had contacted me and said, why don't you update your campaign, with the new terms and conditions. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And they said, do you want us to do it for you? I said, please do. So they retired. They retired my old campaign, and I hadn't clicked into the new one. So that's being sorted now, and they've been wonderful. So I have nothing but good to say about GoFundMe and their customer service. And I'll send them a copy of this. I'll put it in an update when I get the new campaign. In my Journo Angie campaign in 2016, the trolls were already at me for daring to think I could earn a living as a semi-retired journalist, with my kids all raised, and starting to call me a scammer. So I just put a goal of 1 million, knowing that, I had a budget of 225,000 to spend in 1977 in my work for Bank of Credit and Commerce International, which turned out to be a CIA-funded money laundering disaster, where money, of course they'd give a, bright young employee $250,000 to invest. They were money laundering. Why wouldn't they? But so I could spend 1 million with complete integrity, but that was a knee-jerk reaction. So I'm going to start a new campaign once a year with a modest goal of £6,000. And for those of you that find it offensive, but for people to earn a living online, you're entitled to your opinion. And when I do get the sensitivity. Some of my work is personally interviewing survivors, or covering difficult topics, and I do get it that it's not really ethical to make money from that. But at the same time, I'll say it now, I would never. I have a very small number of faithful supporters that send me, anything from 150 a month to 450 a month, which pretty much just keeps the tech and the logistics ticking over. It doesn't cost a lot to do this, especially if you're not traveling all the time. I did a lot of traveling in 2015-16 to protests, and I was in Lanzarote, but I'd go to London and so on and so forth. But when you're working from a set location, it's not a high cost enterprise. So my goal is €500 a month as a semi-retired journalist, which I don't feel embarrassed about earning. But I would say to people that don't have money, a lot of survivors fall in that category. I'm not rich, but I'm not poor either. And I am wealthy because I have more than money. I have love, and I have God in my life, so money is not rich. Money does not define riches, but there's no shame in earning a living online. For more and more people, that's having to be the way they do earn a living. And my online reputation has been so decimated by the likes of Shiva Burton, Karen Irving, Heather Brown, Prue Halliwell, that I would find it very difficult to get a job, by the normal means to, go for an interview and then have somebody look up my name. Oh my God, And even as I said in my last Facebook Live that it's impossible to make a living when you cover such horrendous subjects. No, Sean Atwood's making a very, very healthy living. So is Sonia Bolton. Sonia's also got independent funding. Sean is savvy enough to have a publishing company and to pump out books, and and it's borderline, but I don't find it offensive. So this whole thing about she can't GoFundMe, I find that a bit over the top, and I find sometimes survivors turn on each other unnecessarily. So let me not go into a rant. I kind of have a an outline, and I might not cover it all. Right, so I'm going to give you a heads up on a couple of YouTube channels. I just am. Right. Although, again, I will say that some people are making a vast living just by quoting other people's research. Like, literally, they go online every day and they say, this is what so-and-so said, 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 and send your donations here. And that's like, what? So it's not that, but I do want to point you to a couple of YouTube channels. One is a guy called Michael Fisher, and this is to do with Isaac Cappy, and it's quite a drama unfolding online. Isaac Cappy, for those of you who don't know, it was a sort of Hollywood, you know, personality, hung out with Paris Hilton and others, and Seth Green, and you know, parties in Malibu, and part of that clique. And he whistle blew online for about a year and then died in very suspicious circumstances. The main narrative was he jumped off a bridge. It was he committed suicide after compromising himself. But this Michael Fisher, who I'm finding credible, I have an affinity with people on the edge, or people outside the box. That's the best way to put it. I get accused of having lunatics and fringe people in my circle, but I am, as somebody myself that lives mostly outside the box, I'm attracted to people like that, and I'm attracted to that kind of rare genius. And so this Michael Fisher claims to be the best friend of Isaac Cappy, who is his dead man switch. Now, Phoenix Enigma, Corey Good, has done a whole show with Isaac Cappy's alleged mother, saying, no, this Michael Fisher's just a crazy person telling lies. But Michael Fisher says that wasn't even his mother, that was his auntie. And the picture of Isaac Cappy on the bridge before the alleged suicide is actually a Photoshop of a different photograph of Isaac when he was leaning against a rock somewhere. And I know this kind of photoshopping goes on because I had a beautiful photograph taken in Murcia in Spain around my 50th birthday. And I was sitting on a beach wall. And just the way I was sitting, Hoaxstead photoshopped it to make me look like I was sitting on a toilet, and did a whole meme like that. So I know it can be done. So anyway, this Michael Fisher says that Isaac was murdered outside his home. He was alone for the weekend because it was Mother's Day, and that there's a whole narrative. He's coming out with some explosive claims, and he may or may not turn out to be true. I could show you his channel, or I'll put a link in the description, and check him out. He's eccentric. He's got this long, possibly permed blonde hair, but he has the ring of truth to me. And he says he was a friend of what was that amazing guy? Name's gone out of my head. One of the original truthers that was on the radio, that also seemed to have been murdered. I can't remember his name, but it'll come back to me. So check out Michael Fisher, right? And I'll put the link in the description. The other place to check out, the other channel to check out, and this is controversial as well, but I'm sorry, it's some of the best online journalism at the moment. Online live stream. I think it's between Michael Fisher, Active Patriot, and Barbara O'Hare. The three most happening channels at the moment on YouTube. So Active Patriot is a guy from Grimsby. He sounds quite young, but I think he told a policeman he was older than him. So He might be a veteran in his 50s. I don't know. I haven't seen his face. But he's absolutely fearless. And what he does about once a week is he gets on a coach from Grimsby or wherever, I think it's Grimsby, and he goes to Dover and he documents the flow of illegal immigrants coming from France, which is, you know, a designated safe country, claiming political or refugee status in the UK. They're averaging about 200 a day. It's completely organised. It reminds me of Lewis Arthur's documenting of what was happening on the southern border, you know, in Arizona, the southern border. And so up to 200 a day, illegal immigrants are coming from France to Dover. They also land at beaches along the coast. It's not just Dover they come into. But the UK seems to have monetized and secretly implemented that as a plan. What do they call it? Replacement. Anyway, it's got names. It's not my main area of investigation, but this guy goes and he books into a little £20 a night hostel. I think he gets a few PayPal donations to cover his coach fare and his hostel costs. And he runs around Dover Port filming the migrants coming in, vast majority of whom are fighting age men, looking like fighting age single men, giving gang signals from the coaches. They get a complete welcoming party. They have ambulances on standby, coaches on standby, clearance houses on standby, and accommodation, taxi firms on standby, accommodation on standby. They get brought in by the Royal Navy or Serco or Sodexo or G4S. They get brought in, you know, they in this time of the year when the seas are calm. I think the French help them get out to sea, and then they have these very expensive sort of dinghies with an outboard, and so they, you know, they come across, and then the British Navy or whatever private corporation is working brings them in, processes them, you know, puts them on a coach, takes them to a holding house, Frontier House in Dover or wherever, and then gets them new clothes, new trainers, phones, and whatever they need, and puts them on a nice taxi off to a nice hotel to wait a year or two, you know, before being deported or to disappear, which is a lot of what happens. So having traveled the world, having worked in America and lived in America for 5 years, having lived in Spain, you know, having lived all over Europe, having been to Canada, I would not expect to come in on a dinghy and say, where's my hotel? Where's my, you know, I need to bring the rest of my family now I'm here. And where's my allowance? And I think I'd like a car as well. And could you give me a house? And then even one of them is taking legal proceedings, suing, I think, Port of Dover, because they contracted COVID, allegedly, from another illegal migrant in the holding room or the holding house. It takes usually a day and a half to process them before they get their taxi to their new accommodation and new life. And so it's just insanity. And it's just this guy that's been doing this reporting. I only found him because he got arrested on Thursday, just gone, active patriot. He's fearless. He's fearless. Even when the police like threaten him, and he has been arrested 3 times and assaulted 2 of those 3 times. But even when the police threaten him, he says, I'll pay the fine. You know, what are you going to do? So he has been knocked around a bit and bruised, and intimidated and threatened and so on, but he's fearless. And as somebody rightfully commented under one of his videos, you know, in the old days of journalism, he'd have got an award for the kind of reporting he's doing. He's documenting from when they float in on the dinghies to when they're rescued, to when they're processed, to when they're put on the coaches, to where they get, you know, held for a day or a day and a half, to when the taxi goes off, to where they get put up in hotels, and so on and so forth. So Active Patriot, check him out. And it went viral. He gets a few thousand views anyway. He was getting a few thousand views. But when he got arrested and held for 28 hours or something, you know, and like just handcuffed in a riot van and given a bottle of water he couldn't open with the handcuffs on, and denied a doctor, you know, multiple, just whatever. But it went viral on Twitter. It was called Free Active Patriot, and the hashtag went viral. So that's another channel. Check out Active Patriot. I'll put that in the description box as well. How are we doing for time? I've got no idea. Barbara O'Hare, I am, with her permission, going to make a compilation of the videos she's been putting up about John Wedger. And John Wedger, I'm following Barbara's lead. I've been respectful to you throughout, and I've actually been very quiet while Barbara and others have taken up the gauntlet of researching and investigating. I said my piece. I did my part of the research, and I've been quiet, but you're still being abusive. I don't watch you anymore. I do watch some survivors that I believe are genuine, that have stumbled into your path, but I can't bring myself to watch your little whatever. But I do get told, and I was told, that you made some smart remark about, oh, I've retired my lion mug. Is that the one that was filthy? The one that you showed with all the tea stains? Ugh. Oh my God. But I've retired my lion mug because it says Disney on it, you know, and, you know, that weird woman. For those that don't know, I am an MK Ultra survivor, as well as child sexual abuse survivor and multiple medical experiments survivor. And part of my MK Ultra life, until I woke up, was being engineered into breeding scenarios. And one of those was to marry me off to a Disney. I knew on my wedding day I was making a mistake. I was in a state of dissociation. I have a diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. I was triggered. I got married to somebody that I knew I didn't love, and I couldn't figure out how I ended up in that situation, but I believe it was manipulated for breeding purposes. My family power is a lost bloodline. Disney is a well-known bloodline. And lo and behold, we had 2 children who were heavily targeted for Hollywood. Only that I woke up, they would have been swallowed up in Hollywood. They were already getting groomed by Hollywood stars, Sony Suzuki and David Bowie, Kiefer Sutherland. You know, it was like my beautiful bloodline children would have been just swallowed up by Hollywood had I gone ahead and moved there with them in 2010. And by divine providence and a little bit of awakening, I managed to avoid that. But that's how I got the name Disney. I stayed married for 10 years, you know, wanting to, you know, I'd never been married. Well, I had been married once before, but that was a different situation. But like, I dreamed of a happy marriage, a happy, functioning, healthy marriage. And so when I married the Disney, son of a squadron leader in the Air Force, a Freemason, and very much a bloodliner, when I married his eldest son, I thought, well, I'm a Christian, let me make this work. You know, he was a Christian, he became a Christian, and I've tried my best for 10 years to do happily married with children. And after 10 years, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I got the courage to leave and I divorced. But I kept my name because when I left, our sons were only 3 and 6. And I'd already been through, I had a daughter before I got married. And she went through school with a different surname to me. And it's embarrassing for children and it's hard for them. So this time around, when I left the Disney person, who also I suspect is MK Ultra and, you know, unaware of the whole American Disney side of it, but clear that he was from a bloodline family and clear that his father was not a very good person. But he still, I would suggest, is in a state of dissociation and MK Ultra. So I was not going to, nor will I ever, deny my children's name. And I kept my name on my passport and all my documents, even after I got divorced. So that's why Disney is in my name, you know. And for John Wedger to profit from that association, there seems to be no levels to which you will not stoop around survivors, John, and it's appalling. And I don't agree with Barbara O'Hare on everything. I was horrified to hear her bigging up Hoaxted research today. Oh, my goodness me. My goodness me. But I will say for Barbara O'Hare, she is a dog with a bone. She built on a lot of research that myself and Kathy Morgan did on no consent medical experiments and drugs for memory wiping and drugs for raping and so on. And Barbara went ahead and got the evidence for herself and hundreds of others, survivors of Aston Hall Hospital, and published a book called The Hospital. So she is so clearly a survivor. I am, for anybody that dares to do the research, so clearly a survivor. For John Wedger and others, Jeanette, I commented under your video and asked you please not to attack survivors, fellow survivors like Barbara O'Hare. It's appalling. It's appalling. The same with truth-seeking media, abusing me, especially, you know, for honing in on the Disney name. Aren't you clever? You know, good for you. You big, brave bullies, you know, so disappointing. And I'm just wondering, is truth-seeking, I just had this thought today, this might be the Holy Spirit or I might be wrong, is truth-seeking music media anything to do with Bill Maloney? I wonder. We'll see on that. Also, yeah, so Jeanette, I believe you. Jeanette said something in a live stream yesterday that just went like that with me because I haven't heard it very often. I have facial blindness. I think I've heard it from one other survivor, which is a kind of a brain pathway short circuit. So if you've been traumatized consistently throughout childhood, you shut down with facial recognition unless it's somebody you know and trust. And I'm always getting teased around the town for not recognizing people or for chatting away to someone with a sort of blank look because I can't remember how I know them. And it's called, you know, I don't know if it's called facial blindness, but to me, it's very, I know what that is. And Jeanette referred to that. So unless she's superbly researched, you know, I just thought this woman's telling the truth. But I did say, please stop abusing a documented, brave and helpful survivor like Barbara O'Hare. And John Wedger, you know, the ones of us that are brave enough to go online and fight for others, we do get a thick skin. But how can you say all your work is to save the children when you abuse adult survivors of child sexual abuse publicly and incite others to do the same? So each time you put my name in your mouth, John, I'm going to join my voice and keep going on what there is to come out about you. And Tom Cahill, if you're listening, do get in touch with Barbara if you have something to add to the information pool, which is heavily populated at the moment. And yes, pray for Mike Tarraga. He is hanging in there, and I do think the amount of support he's had will give him that extra fight to stay alive. I did want to share, I don't know if I could bear to. Oh, God, I've lost faith in pharmaceutical companies and the health professionals, the health profession. There are good nurses, good doctors, good hospitals, good social workers, good coppers, etc. But the bad guys are kind of winning at the moment. And my mother is in hospital, COVID-free, currently in a green ward, which is COVID-free. But for me, every day she spends in there is a day too long. She said, she describes it as being in purgatory. She's 88, and she put a DNR on her records 20 years ago. Just, it was a personal choice of hers. Like, if it's my time, let me go. But DNR can be abused and turned into euthanasia and actually turned into genocide. So for those of you that are patient enough, I'm actually going to share it. Oh, I can't, it's on my other phone. I'll share it on a Facebook Live. I have, because when I get videos in Messenger and I don't know the original source, I can't share it on my page, or the only way I can share it is re-record it from Messenger. So I'll do that on a Facebook Live. But it's this health professional weeping about elderly people. There was 60 something in a nursing home, and they're down to 12 elderly people being put on a swift pathway to death, which basically consists of withholding their food and their normal medications and any ventilation if they need that. I'm not too keen on ventilation. I've used nebulizers, and oxygen's always a good thing, but just our elderly being decimated and euthanized, genocided, you know. And I shared it with my son, who's a health professional, and he was horrified. And he even said, because the only drugs they're given is morphine and something else, which is pathway to death drugs. They're taking all their anxiety meds taken off them, all their blood thinners or whatever they might be on are withdrawn, and they're just given morphine and something else. And my son, as a health professional, said that will lower their immune system and make them more prone to a swift exit, you know, which, if you do your sums on the pension contributions that most elderly have made in their lifetimes, it doesn't come close to what they are costing, but they are regarded by some as useless eaters, which are people who are not profitable for the public purse. And I think a lot of this may be to cover up the fact that from Finchley Road and similar money laundering and scamming Ponzi schemes, the pension funds have been raided. It's not just Robert Maxwell that raided the Mirror Pension Fund. The pension funds have been raided. So the more pensioners they can COVID exit, the better for them. Let me see. I think I said I've got a wonderful new assistant. So excited about this. I've been asking for this since 2016. I think somebody volunteered from Australia once, but I missed it and lost it in the comments. I had hundreds of comments to catch up on. I don't know if I ever did. But there's a new person from England. Well, actually, from another country in Europe, but resident in England, who has just stepped up. And I'm so excited about going forward, what fruit that's going to bear. Hampstead, we need a breakthrough. We are so close. We are so close. It's hard not to get weary. There's a scripture that says you will reap a harvest if you do not grow weary, if you do not faint and grow weary. And I've almost fainted and grown weary so many times on the Hampstead case. We're that close. We're that close to resolution and categorical, undeniable proof. And then it's a case of, will the police do the right thing? Will the social services do the right thing? And that's not guaranteed. But I'm still erring on the side of caution. So to the people that are handling that last part of the 5 years of torture in trying to magnify the children's voices and get them safe, to the people that have that in their hands, please expedite that for the sake of the children, for the sake of the millions worldwide who care, and for the sake of the campaigners and the whistleblowers, some of whom are locked up or sectioned or force medicated, including John Patterson, for daring to cover this case. God. Okay. Yeah, I talked about a New Zealand researcher. She doesn't feel safe coming on Zoom. And, you know, there are ways to make yourself semi-safe online, but Julian Assange, possibly one of the most genius computer wizards, you know, of our generation, he was hacked. The NSA can get anything. And that's why I live my life like, help yourself, come on in, have a cup of tea. Like Sharon Gale says, come on in, kettle's on, you know? So yeah, I understand this sort of fear, but fear is the mind killer. And basically, if you are sharing information that helps end international child trafficking, child sex trafficking, child pornography distribution, child snuff movies, child rape, child murder, you know, who cares if somebody's listening in? Seriously. We have to all find the brave. Or not. You know, sometimes I think it's not worth it, but that feeling passes. Okay, yeah, some people have said to me they found my name, including Baron David Ward's name, including Brian Harvey's name, including Sabine McNeil's name. The trolls, and at this level, we could be talking Mossad, we could be talking MI6, we could be talking CIA, we could be talking GCHQ, we could be talking satanic cabal worldwide, who knows? But they are imitating and capitalizing on the Q movement and producing death or shortly to be executed lists with my name on them, and Brian Harvey's and David Ward's and so on and so forth. It just, I can't stop. It seems like putting my finger in the dam to try and stop the trolling and the attacks against me. It hurts me when it comes from friendly fire. And it offends me when it comes from people that proclaim to be child abuse survivor advocates like John Wedger. But all I can do is tell you the truth, and you can decide to believe me or not, or do your research or not. And ultimately, what can I do? I'm not deep state. I'm not Illuminati. I am a bloodliner. I was MK Ultra. I was manipulated and moved around like a pawn on a chessboard. And I'm not now. You know, and anything else, just think what you want. Yeah, right. I think that's it. I think that's it for now. It's probably gone an hour. I just seem to spontaneously have an hour's worth of to do each time I need to talk. I'll do a Facebook Live soon and I'll share some of that nursing home. Please pray for my mother to come home. You know, at first it was thought to be just a fall where she hit her head. Then it was possibly a mini stroke, but there's no signs of mental injury. You know, she's perfectly compos mentis. And then they were talking about sending her to a different hospital to get occupational therapy because she's not too keen on exercising, getting out of bed and trotting around in hospital with no visitors in a pretty depressing situation. But my mum's always been that way. She, even after pregnancies, you know, she wouldn't exercise. Exercise has just not been a huge, you know, she used to say she had enough exercise running around after 5 children. You know, there are some of our generation, my mother's generation, we weren't educated as to how important exercise is to the human health and well-being. So her, you know, saying that she needs to stay in the hospital system for occupational therapy, you know, during an alleged pandemic, when she's managed to stay COVID-free in a COVID-free ward, seems a bit of an unnecessary risk. Ireland is starting to squeeze like the rest of the world. 174 more cases and 1 more death, and 3 counties locked down. You know, it's like they didn't even have the grace to wait for the summer to pass to try and go in with a second wave. So all I can say to people is, please, that's the other video I'll share on a Facebook Live. Cassie, somebody at the protest yesterday, gave a great speech about the whole pandemic, Event 201, the Rockefeller documents, and Fiona Marie Flanagan, final shout out I'll give. She does a live stream with Gran Torino Friday night. She's on Twitter. She's an Irish journalist, and she's come up with some amazing research from the Rockefeller Foundation website as well about hydroxychloroquine and a possible play out. Actually, what's that thing when they do gaming to see how a certain thing would play out? A possible outcome play out of an anti-malarial drug being promoted and then being compromised. So this is not to put fear in anybody. I think the final thing I would say, and I am going to start working, you know, if the Hampstead thing doesn't come to resolution soon, again, I'm going to need to say, without Abe and Ella even putting their faces and voices back to the front line, I'm going to need to take care of other things. And the most important thing is for people to connect with God, the Creator, through his Son, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, by the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm not a fundamentalist fanatic. I'm not judgmental. You can see I'm not your textbook Christian. But I passionately want people to know that Jesus was not just a man. He was and is the Son of the living God. And a real person that you can have a real relationship with, which is nothing to do with organized religion, nothing to do with a mediator. You can have a personal relationship with Jesus and thereby be reconnected to your Creator and be empowered by the Holy Spirit to get through some really difficult times. I'm a little bit dissociated from the whole COVID thing and the whole mask thing. I've worn a mask, I have to admit, I've worn a mask once for an hour in a hospital appointment and once for an hour with a naturopath who, in my opinion, should know better. But it was either not get my treatment, or, you know, the rest of the time I don't wear a mask, whether I'm in the supermarket or the post office or wherever, you know. But I am a little bit in denial because it's coming at us like a steam train. So I really want to believe the likes of Charlie Freak and the Q crowd. I really want to believe the narrative that it's okay, the white hats have won, the bad guys are going down, and we're all going to be safe and nobody's going to be force vaccinated or 5G'd out of it. I hope that's true. But I also know that we have to go through the eye of the needle for Jesus to come back and start the true millennial reign, which is 1,000 years with no more pain, no more suffering, no more death, no more war. You know, there is a glorious millennial reign coming. But I don't think it will be Q-induced or Trump-induced. I think only Jesus coming back will transition us to that. I'll be honest about that. And Mary is not part of the Trinity. And Christ consciousness is not just the spark within us. You know, it does say in the Bible, Christ in me, the hope of glory. But Jesus is a real person that wants a real relationship with you personally, if you'll open the door. Angela'sCashes.org, Angela Power Disney. Sorry, I didn't broadcast at all last week. And don't give the trolls their credit, but it's been pretty brutal. But I'm back on the up and up. And John Wedger, keep my name out of your mouth. In Jesus' name. Let's leave it at that for now. God bless. And I will, in another video, as I say, I'm waiting for Barbara O'Hare to bring forth more explosive evidence that she has and make a little compilation of that with her permission, and I will do that. And it gives me no pleasure. I still find myself hoping John would repent rather than attack. All right, God bless everybody. Bye.